We didn't find out about it because the Giants didn't win a game in Detroit. However, Ryan Walker has been removed from the closer's role, and it's definitely the right choice for this team, and here's why.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, so check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show so you can get notified right away when a new episode drops, which is Monday through Friday. And coming up on today's show, Camilo Doval removed from the closer's role, why it's the right decision. Ryan Walker removed from the closer's role, why it's the right decision for this team. Also, Pat Burrell, Giants hitting coach, on Willy, LaMonte Jr., their struggles, and just the overall offensive struggles. And then finally, Jerar Encarnacion nearing a return, but is he enough of an answer? Can he really help this team offensively? We'll analyze that all coming up today. And the big news of the day, and this went down at the end of yesterday, Bob Melvin announced it, even though, we didn't find out through seeing it. We found out through him saying it, and it turns out that the decision was made several days prior. It's just that the Giants didn't have anything close to a save situation in Detroit because they only led for like half of one of the games, or at least, I'm pretty sure they only led for half of the last game, and then they blew it in like the fifth inning. So, they never had a save situation, and it turns out that the game that caused me to say that I thought they should remove Ryan Walker from the closer's role was, in fact, the game where Bob Melvin made the decision to remove Ryan Walker from the closer's role. And that was the game in Washington, D.C., where he hung on and got the save despite making it way too interesting. And I said at the time that the time to make a change was not once you've blown more games, because this very well could come down to the end in the playoff race. It could come down to a one-game difference. You could end up in a tie. These days, there's no tiebreaker even. You could end up in a tie, and one game, how you did head-to-head against a certain team could determine your entire season. And so when the trend is there, like every day was a struggle for Ryan Walker, it seemed, in that ninth inning, you got to, it just makes more sense to me to get out ahead of it. And hopefully you don't have guys with big egos, and it isn't a big deal. And thankfully, Ryan Walker is not a guy with a big ego. And so, in fact, I'm kind of burying the lead here, but Camilo Doval is who is being put in that closer's role. I mentioned, obviously, Doval as a candidate, probably the most likely, but also pointed out that Randy Rodriguez has been the most dominant reliever on the Giants, and arguably, top 3, top 5 in baseball when it comes to relievers. So he's been amazing, but they like him in this role where he's kind of putting out existing threats, and he's been incredible in those situations. So I don't know. Randy Rodriguez certainly seems capable to me of being that guy, but Doval has done it before, obviously. And so it's going to be Doval for now. So Bob Melvin said about this that it can be fluid. This is a quote from courtesy of Shayna Rubin of the SF Chronicle. Bob Melvin says, quote, "It can be fluid. Same thing happened last year when Doval had it and Walker took over. We're lucky to have 2 guys that can close." I would say they have 4. Tyler Rogers could probably also do it, although I said I don't like how you're every now and then going to get batted ball weirdness from Tyler Rogers, which we've seen crop its head up before. Although, if you just look at the overall numbers, he could do it too. And I think, again, Randy Rodriguez. So they made the decision after Sunday's win in Washington when Walker gave up a run on 2 hits. And yeah, he made it way more interesting than it needed to be. And it just was a consistent issue. The Giants lead the major leagues in bullpen ERA. So this is a very interesting thing that they lead the league in bullpen ERA. And yet that 9th inning has been nerve-wracking like all season long. And so anyway, Melvin said that Walker took the change well. And sure enough, Walker, with quotes of his own here, courtesy of Shayna Rubin, he said, quote, "Camilo is absolutely unreal right now, and he was a closer before. I totally understand the move. If that's the best position we can be in to win games, which I agree with Bob, it probably is, then let's do it." So you couldn't ask for anything more than Ryan Walker than to take it this way. You definitely could have a guy pouting and saying, my expected number. Nobody's actually going to say that out loud, but I just know Ryan Walker, he's probably disappointed, but mostly disappointed with himself. Like he says, and, I agree with Bob. He also said one time when he got taken out, I think it was the right move to take me out. He said he didn't want to come out, and he showed that frustration on the mound. I think this was in Chicago in one of their games there against the Cubs. But, to continuously speak to the media and basically agree with your manager publicly, and I think he really does believe that, then, good on Ryan Walker. And so then the attention turns to Doval, who said through interpreter Erwin Higueros, "To me, it's the same either inning. I'm just happy the team gives me the opportunity to pitch and be an important piece to win a game." And then Walker said of his rocky start, "It was a rocky start, obviously. I do believe with how rough I was pitching-wise, I got through it okay. I also believe I am in a way better spot now. My last few outings have been a lot better, way more of who I am." And that's great. I agree. I mean, I just think, and he seems to agree as well, that it'd be one thing if the Giants were just coasting away with the division or if they were horrible and whatever, but they're contending and right now they're losing. And so, like I said, every game figures to be important, or it very well could end up being that you're in this to the end and that every game you look back on it and it mattered. So, Ryan Walker has a 4.95 ERA and Camilo Doval has a 1.16 ERA, but it's not just about ERA. We all know this. The expected ERA for Walker is 3.34. I kind of find that somewhat hard to believe because from what I've seen with my eyes, I mean, there's just been command issues. There's been hard hit balls, like pretty consistently. It's just never been easy for him this year. Whereas last year he was so utterly dominant. But the strikeout rate is way down. The slider command, I think, has been very poor. And it's kind of made him a one-pitch guy. And that makes him much easier to hit. So anyway, strikeout rate way down from last year and even his career numbers. And yeah, 3.34 ERA or expected ERA, whereas for Doval, it's 2.18 expected ERA for Doval. And the fielding independent pitching for Walker is 2.82, which is very good. He hasn't allowed a homer. That heavily influences those numbers, but neither has Doval. So the fielding independent pitching for Doval is 2.51. So you're choosing between nothing but good options here. I mean, it's not a coincidence that I'm saying that, and they have the best bullpen ERA in the majors, again, despite their closer having an ERA close to 5. He's the only guy, if you look at ERA leaders, like the next worst ERA out of the bullpen belongs to Kyle Harrison at 3.38. So only Ryan Walker has above a 3.38, and that's bullpen performance ERA, not, some guys like Harrison have done bullpen and starting, Birdsong as well. But yeah, I mean, these guys have been amazing, and Doval, we've seen what bad Doval looks like, and so it's certainly possible that could crop up again. But this year, he's got the walk rate down to 9.3%, which was where it was in 2023. Last year, it jumped up to 14.4%. So that's kind of key. And he's been able to limit walks, and he's had a great season, and this is the right move for now for me. So anyway, coming up in just a minute, Pat Burrell, Giants hitting coach, on the offensive struggles. Today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I am absolutely in love with the chili roasted flavor. Like, I discovered these at a car dealership where they were giving them out for free, and I literally, it said limit 2 per customer to their snack items, and they had all these options, and I ended up taking 2 of the chili roasted Wonderful Pistachios and then buying huge bags for myself. They're absolutely amazing, and they have a ton of delicious flavors. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, here we go. We're going to get into Pat Burrell discussing Willy Adames, LaMonte Jr., and the offense overall, which has been obviously a big point of emphasis lately as the team has really struggled to score runs, but they have managed to kind of stay afloat despite struggling over an extended period of time due to largely just their pitching staff delivering pretty consistently. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day, by the way. And so, yeah, this is again going to be courtesy of Shayna Rubin of the San Francisco Chronicle. Encourage you to check these out for yourself. It's great. She mentions weighted runs created plus in this article. So it's nice to see numbers like that making their way into the newspaper. So she points out the Giants had a 12-5 start while having a 101 weighted runs created plus in those 17 games, with 100 being league average. So they were 12-5 despite being, context neutral average offensively. And we've talked about it all year. And I could check again right now. It may be an appropriate time to do so, but they were thriving in terms of scoring runs even, because they did well in high leverage situations. And I was asked a bunch, like, is that sustainable? And the answer was like, probably not, and that I would expect moving forward that they would be their normal selves, like their overall numbers would be what they would do in all situations on average over a long, big sample. And I think we've seen a little bit of regression in that category. In fact, I am looking right now on Fangraphs, and the Giants are now 4th, where they were 1st and then 2nd in high leverage situations. So they're still up there, and a lot of their success, the fact that they're over 500 by 6 games, is attributable to that. But Shayna Rubin goes on to say, since losing to Philadelphia on April 15th, so we're talking a month and a half, and 39 games, they're 19-20 in those 39 games. Well, she says entering Wednesday, and so I guess 19-21 because they lost on Wednesday. And as a team, again, entering Wednesday, they had hit just 232 with a 309 on base, 352 slugging, and 89 weighted runs created plus over that span. So we're talking a month and a half span where they've been more like 11% below average, not more like, where they've been 11% below average versus being roughly league average for the first 17 games. So overall in the season now, they've been like 6% below average by weighted runs created plus. So Pat Burrell, she interviews, and there's a lot that he has to say. He is the hitting coach. It's no longer like this 3-split hitting coach thing. Pat Burrell's the main guy now. And I'm glad he talked to the media. We haven't had that from when it was Justin Willy or Donnie Ecker, who, by the way, was fired by the Rangers, and maybe the Giants should come a-calling to Donnie Ecker, but we gave him a lot of credit, and then the Rangers have struggled offensively last year and now this year. So hitting is hard, even for the hitting coaches. But Burrell says, our job, this is in reference to analytics and all the stuff you can dive into with like biomechanics and all that. He says, our job as a staff is to keep these guys relaxed and keep it simple. One thing that's changed over the last 20 years, when teams go through things like this, guys get tired, whatever the case may be. Now, with all the technology and video and analytics, it's easier to dive into that. So what we try to do is pull back to get these guys to understand that at the end of the day, you're in a competition with the pitcher, and it's that simple. So a lot of people would argue actually that it's not that simple. It is, but it's not. It is mechanical sometimes, and you've sometimes diving into that can unlock something. And so when he says our job as a staff is basically just to keep guys relaxed and keep it simple, not every team thinks that way. And in fact, a lot of better offensive teams don't think that way. And when the Giants had their amazing hitting in 2021 and 2020, even though it was a shortened year, they weren't really, you wouldn't have heard Donnie Ecker say, our job is to keep guys relaxed and keep it simple. Or you may have heard it, but he also would have meant keep the presentation of the analytics simple. So a little bit of a, just noteworthy comment there. And then Shayna Rubin goes into Willy Adames' struggles, and that they've been, that he's moved down in the lineup, and that he has altered his approach at the plate with a lower leg kick, and that it's a strategy to give him more time to change his contact point and let the pitch travel a bit longer. So I don't know. That's also modern hitting is kind of don't let the pitch travel. You want to hit it out in front because that's where all the damage lies. But obviously Adames has struggled, so something's got to change. But Pat Burrell said of this, quote, leg kick comes and goes for a lot of guys. It's bigger at times of comfort. When you're not feeling as good, the leg kick is big. A lot of the time it can mess up your timing. So what we're trying to do is just simplify things a little bit and give him more time to make better decisions. I mean, that seems reasonable. He definitely was flailing wildly. And so if it helps him kind of calm down, and I personally feel like the at-bats were better the last few games in Detroit. And so hopefully he can continue that. But Burrell continued and said, we know that Willy is a guy that can carry this club for weeks at a time, and nobody is more frustrated than he is. This is their livelihood, and they're under so much pressure, and they feel it. Again, on our side of it, we want to simplify things for these guys to clear their head, because when you go out there with a clear head, you perform. Again, it's a little bit of a controversial, is that a hitting coach's job, just to help guys clear their head? Or is it to correct things? Like these days, there's so much you can do to instruct on hitting. And I don't know exactly how much of that they're doing. I think they wanted Justin Willy to return, and he ended up going to Texas to be with Donnie Ecker, and then Donnie Ecker was fired. So I think Justin Willy is the main guy now in Texas, which is funny. But anyway, Shayna Rubin points out that Adames' bat speed is down nearly 2 miles an hour from last year when he was really good, which might ring alarm bells. And I agree. I've noticed this when I look at the StatCast data. Like everything we know says that better bat speed equals better results. Like when hitters are able to improve their bat speed, it makes such a difference. Like The pitch velocity does not make nearly as much of a difference as bat speed. People say let the pitcher supply the power. Then why do you see like hanging curveballs go 480 feet? It's not. And Matt Chapman's home run earlier this year was like the only home run on a 100-mile plus fastball. So that I don't buy that at all. It's really kind of about bat speed as opposed to pitch speed when it comes to hitting the ball far and hard. So anyway, Burrell's not concerned about the decreased bat speed, which is again kind of questionable, but he says not something I'm concerned about. When you don't feel free, you probably aren't going to be delivering as much. When you're not getting results, we as hitters will shorten up and not try to do as much. To me, that's where that comes from. When he gets back to feeling confident in what he's doing and results start coming, you'll see an uptick in that as well. So that's something to put a pin in. Will we in fact see an uptick in bat speed when Adames is in like a hot streak? It's definitely something to watch. But from what I've seen, Adames has taken some swing out, and just kind of peppered balls up the middle, just kind of collecting singles and just trying to be on time. So I kind of do buy this. And obviously Burrell knows what he's talking about when he says when we as hitters don't feel free, we will shorten up and not try to do as much. And I have seen that. That is what I've seen lately from Adames when I say his swings have looked better in Detroit. I think, he flipped the ball to right. He hit some balls up the middle. It's just kind of a deliberate, I'm not up here swinging crazy. I'm just trying to make solid contact and hit a line drive. And that's what I've seen the last few days. But Shayna Rubin's talking about season numbers. And so that includes it includes everything. And so it is a little bit of a concern. I'm not going to lie. And then you look at the swing length, and he's always had a long swing. These days it can be measured. How long is your swing? And he's got one of the longest swings in baseball. So a long and slow swing is not what you want. You either want to be kind of short and slow. You never really want to be slow, but long and slow is not the answer. But we'll see. We'll see. This is all kind of cutting edge stuff with being able to measure it. And Burrell makes a good point. So we will continue looking at this and hearing from Pat Burrell, and he's going to get into LaMonte Jr., and we're going to get into Jerar Encarnacion and his impending return and how much he can help in just a minute. And before we do, all right, here we go. We're going to continue to hear from Pat Burrell, courtesy of Shayna Rubin. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. So we're going to get into LaMonte Jr., the offense overall, and can Jerar Encarnacion help? And how much can he help? How close is he to returning? We've got some medical updates. So the attention in this article turns to Wade, who, like Adames, has moved down significantly in the lineup, and for obvious reasons. I mean, to start the season, it was Wade first and Adames second. And those two have, I guess Bailey, who actually isn't, I don't think, even mentioned in this article, is struggling even more than either of those two. I think he gets kind of a pass, which he should, because he makes up for even atrocious offense with how good he is defensively. Although it's obviously not ideal how bad he's been. He's been way worse even than his career norms. He's been the worst hitter in baseball. He's been the worst hitter in baseball for 4+ months by far, by these kind of even by just average, worst on base, worst slugging, worst weighted runs created plus, worst by a ton. We're talking since August of last year, and this year alone, it's also, from what last time I checked, the weighted runs created plus at least was worst. So regarding Wade, Burrell said, we all feel for him and what he's going through because he's working so hard. With him, it's all timing. From a timing standpoint, the work isn't translating, and it's very frustrating. We all know what's at stake for him. He's a free agent at the end of the year is what he means. I'm sure he puts undue pressure on himself, which is all natural. It's part of it. It's all part of it and how you manage it. To his credit, he hasn't given in one day and is working his butt off. That's a paraphrase there. My opinion from what I've seen over the years is that if you have relentless workers that keep fighting for it, they get results. So again, I'm not here to say anything about the job Pat Burrell is doing. This is kind of just more of the same, with the offense being a little bit below average overall. We've seen that consistently year over year. So it's not about like they were really good and then they changed the hitting coaches and now they're not good. They haven't been good offensively for years, since 2021. I think they were decent in 2022, but then it's been below average since. And so Burrell finished up by saying, when you're struggling with your timing and feel like you're late, feeling like you're taking big swings, it's because you're trying to catch up. When you're trying to catch up, you don't make as good decisions. It's that simple. When you're making poor decisions, a lot of the time it's because it's not because you're on time. I don't know what that, a lot of the time it's not because you're on time. He's not a guy that chases. He's a guy that understands the strike zone better than anybody we have. That's when you know he's really fighting. So he means when he's chasing, which he is, and it's true. Like, yeah, so he's all messed up. That's obvious for any of us. And there's Burrell giving an explanation. And Burrell says he has faith the skid won't last long, quote, because they care and they get along. You get a group of guys that's motivated with a common goal and a lot of good things happen. So, again, not a technical response, more of a psychological response. We'll see if he's right. I think they will snap out of what they're in now, because what they're in now is a deep slump. And so eventually, yeah, they'll break through, hopefully in Miami. But that was Burrell on the state of affairs there with the Giants offense. So enter Jerar Encarnacion, because he's coming back soon. And how much can he help? So the latest medical update we got from the Giants was on Tuesday, May 27th. And what they said of Encarnacion was that he will start a rehab assignment with AAA Sacramento tonight on Tuesday. And so I had forgotten and kind of misspoke in the episode that he had his rehab assignment paused. He was on a rehab assignment and then they paused it because he was feeling some soreness in that hand. I'm forgetting, I think it was a left hand fracture. And he's on the 60-day IL, but he's eligible to come off now whenever he's ready. So let's look at his performance on this rehab assignment. So he played just 2 games and then he got shut down for 16 days. He played the 10th, he played the 11th of May, and then he didn't play again until the 27th of May. And he played on the 27th, he played on the 28th. Today is the 29th. So I don't know how long he feels he needs to be down there. He, in these 2 games, has hit 167 with a 286 on base, 667 slugging, only struck out 14.3% of the time, walked 14.3% of the time. In the 4 games down in AAA, 308 average, 400 on base, 615 slugging, 20% strikeout rate. So it's a tiny sample of 4 games, but nonetheless, he's just kind of rolled out of bed and hit there. I don't know, normally in spring training, guys need weeks of time to get ready, but I think I read Alex Pavlovich saying that the Giants don't think he's far away, and that was a few days ago. And so maybe they believe really that they can just activate him and try to catch some lightning in a bottle, because this team needs a jolt offensively. And Encarnacion, it's a big question. How much can he really provide offensively? Because it's not like he has a track record of hitting in the major leagues. Like in his major league career, which started with the Marlins, he's only ever played professionally with the Marlins and the Giants. And major league and minor league baseball. And with the Marlins, he really struggled in the major leagues. And then he went and played in Mexico where he was unbelievable, and the Giants signed him, and he tore it up in AAA. And then in the major leagues with the Giants last year, he had expected numbers that drastically exceeded his actual results, even though his actual results were decent. And so there's a hope that he actually could be a good offensive player. There's certainly a lot of power. And so I don't know. I mean, he had all this experience in Miami. Maybe there's some kind of serendipitous like push to have him come back and play this series in Miami, given that he spent his entire career since signing in looks like 2016. I mean, that's when he first started playing affiliated ball with the Marlins at age 18, and now he's 27. And so probably doesn't want to miss the opportunity to go back there and potentially do something. And so we'll see. I don't know how close he is, but certain projection systems like the Steamer projection system and Zips have him as an above average bat. And so Giants could use all the above average offense they can muster. Every projection system has him at least close to average. And so I personally would like to see what he can do. And they certainly have room to give him a shot, whether it's at first base or at DH, however you want to shuffle the cards. There is room for this guy in the lineup right now because they're looking for answers. And like Wade isn't hitting. Flores can play off the bench and be utilized in the ideal situation, or just Wade sits, even if it's a righty, and then you've got a righty first baseman and a righty DH. It's not totally optimal, but it's not like Wade is doing anything as a lefty anyway. So I do not know when he will be activated, but I have a suspicion they could just kind of force the issue and just bring him up. And if he struggles at the major league level to get his timing back, it wouldn't be any worse than what they've got going on now. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see him in Miami. We'll find out soon enough. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, my name's Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter/X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.